Hi everyone, in this video I want to show you how to use the layer templates that come with the Jewelry CAD library that I recently released. So that comes in both a free and paid version, and the main difference between the two is the number of gem models and the number of materials. So free and paid both have the same layer templates. There might be a couple of minor differences in the layer templates, but basically they're the same. So this is the standard small objects millimeters template. It has these 5 generic layers plus the default layer with no materials assigned to them. But if you have already downloaded and installed the library, which I'm assuming that you have when you're watching this video, you'll click on the library tab right here, then click on this drop down, click on this menu button, and click on the name of the folder for the library. You'll come to the main folder of the library and you'll see this template file. Just go ahead and drag that over into the Rhino scene, select Open File, and click OK. So this, because we chose Open File, it's going to replace whatever file we had open already with the template file. And if we click over on the Layers tab, you can see we now have all of these layers, and some of them have materials assigned to them. Before you do anything, don't change anything about your screen. I want you to go to File, Save as Template. Because we're saving as a template, Rhino is going to bring this to this special folder here where templates get saved, and you can just type in a name for it. I'm going to call mine Jewelry, and then hit Save. Now I've already saved it, so it's asking me if I want to replace it. I'm going to choose yes, but you probably won't get that prompt. So from now on, whenever you want to design jewelry in Rhino, you can go File, New, and then double click on Jewelry. So normally, since the time I've been teaching tutorials about Jewelry CAD using Rhino, we've been using the Small Objects Millimeters template. But now we'll start using this Jewelry template, which is what you can do whenever you want to design jewelry. So just click on it. You can either double click on it or click on it and click on Open. And it will open, and you'll have all these layers if you click on the Layers tab here. Okay, so we'll go over the layers now, just kind of a brief overview. Well, before we do that, let me just talk about a couple other things. So this template file here, well, you may have noticed there's also a templates folder. If you double click on that, you'll see some other templates. This stylized template is actually the same thing as the template that we just installed. Okay, it's exactly the same thing as this right here. But the plastic template and the realistic template are different. So the main difference between these 3 templates are the materials assigned to the layers. If we switch over to the Layers tab, you can see that some of these layers have materials assigned to them. And so the layers are the same on all 3 templates, but the materials assigned to the layers might be different. So for the realistic and the stylized templates, the metals are all the same, but the gemstones are different between the two of them. We use realistic gemstone materials on the realistic template and stylized gemstone materials on the stylized template. The plastic template uses plastic materials, plastic looking materials for all of the metals and all of the gems. Okay, so it's just a different look on all 3 of them. The stylized template and the plastic template both work very well in the rendered view. Okay, and the realistic template works best in ray traced. Okay, it doesn't really work at all in rendered. So you can do the same thing you did with the with that first template file. For instance, if you would like to also have the plastic template file as something that a file type that you can go File, New, and then if you wanted to grab the plastic template, you could do that as well. You see here I've got Jewelry Plastic in case I want to use that for a particular file. Okay, so you just drag this out into the scene, click on Open File, and click OK. Don't change anything about anything, and then click File, Save as Template, and you can type something like Jewelry _ plastic or whatever you think is best, and then click on Save. Okay, it's asking me if I want to replace it. I'll choose yes. It doesn't matter if I choose yes or no in that case. I already have it. But And you can also do that with realistic. Now, I just frankly don't use the realistic template very much, but it's there if you want it. I tend to use the stylized template. That's my favorite, and that's why I put it out here, kind of as like a hint that that's the one that I just feel like most people are going to want the stylized template. So I put it out here to make it easier to get to. Okay, so that's how you install the templates, and now we'll just go over, we'll just go over what the layers are for, okay? And I want to say here at the beginning that, during my career as a jewelry designer, I didn't use layers like this because I didn't use plain Rhino. I used a modified version of Rhino called Matrix. And Matrix had its own layer system, and it had its own set of materials, and everything about Matrix pretty much looked different as far as the interface goes, except for the viewports and the command line and some of the stuff here. But everything else, none of these toolbars were here. They had built their own menu system, basically. All the same tools, but just laid out in a very different way with a different color scheme and everything. And so they had their whole layer system, their own little layer system that I was very used to. I'm trying to kind of capture some of that in this layer system over here, but I don't know how good it's going to be in a production environment. So if any of my viewers actually design jewelry on a day-to-day basis like I used to, I no longer do. I'm just at my house now making videos. But if you're in a production environment and you're trying to use this, if there's something about this layer system that annoys you, maybe you're always having to add a layer that I don't have, or maybe there's a lot of layers that you find useless or something. If there's something about this layer system that annoys you, and if you work in a production environment, let me know any suggestions or criticisms you might have about it. You can let me know in the comments in any of the YouTube videos that I make, or you can let me know at my WebDunce TV Facebook page or my WebDunce TV Twitter profile, which is now an X profile. So, yeah, so that I'm definitely willing to listen to any suggestions that people might have about the layer system here. Okay, so we'll just kind of give a brief overview here of these three working layers. I just intend those to be things where you can put objects that you need to be on a different layer than the layer that you're working on. So let's say you have a couple of objects here. We'll just put a couple of spheres here, and let's say that two of them you'd like to be on a different layer, so you can easily hide it, right? So we'll just switch over to perspective view, and we'll put these two on a working layer. Okay, so now we can turn those off if we need to and just keep working on our main object here. So that's kind of just every now and then I find that I need to put something on a different layer. It doesn't need to be like a specific layer, like for gems or metals or curves or anything specific. It just needs to be on a different layer than the one that I'm working on. And I'm typically working in the default layer. And this just gives me, I've got three layers here. I can just throw objects on so that I can get them off of my main layer. Okay, so that's what the working layers are for, just temporary holding places for random objects. Okay, let's see what else we got here. We have curves. Okay, so if you have any special curves and you'd like them to be on a curves layer, that's what all of this is for. You can also collapse this, so you can put things on the main curves layer or any of its sub layers. Okay, and you can collapse that if you don't want to see them all the time. I tend to leave it open, but just as a for example, I'll go ahead and go into the top viewport. Something I very often do in Rhino when designing jewelry is I'll have two curves, which will be control curves, and I'll draw an adjustable blend between them. Okay, and I intend, I usually intend to adjust these curves. But you see right now they all kind of run into each other. But if I select these two and put them, say, on this layer, okay, now I can more easily see which ones I'm supposed to move, right? And you can also put this one on a different layer just to make it stand out. Okay, so we could do something like that, right? And maybe we want to offset this. Let's offset it more than that. Okay, and so maybe what we want to do is loft these two. We'll switch over to shaded mode. Maybe we want this surface and we want to be able to control it with these two curves, right? I mean, that's not something I typically do, but maybe that's what we want to do in this case, right? Okay, so we could quickly turn these curve layers off if we needed to, right? And this could stay on our working layer. Now, underneath the curve layers, so that's just some things you could do with the curve layers. You could do whatever you want with these layers, by the way. I mean, you know, they're your layers. You can do whatever you want with them. Any changes you make to them, and you save your file, as long as you're not using the save as template, whenever you go back and you open a new, I'm not actually going to do this, but whenever you go and open a new file using this template, it will go back to it will still use the original layers as they were, and any changes you make to the layers in this project will only affect this project, this particular file. Okay, so if I want to, I could rename this pink layer. I could rename it, for instance, controls, because these two curves control the blue curves, which control the surface, right? And I could do that, and that will only when I save this file, that will only be saved in this particular file. Okay, so the next one down is flows, and let's take this. That's for flow along curve and flow along object. So we'll do it both ways. We'll draw a curve over here, and we'll also take this surface. We'll go to UV right here. So this is under curve tools. We got this drop down. I won't do this thing with the curve, just to save time. So we'll select this surface, click on this drop down, and click on UV. It says select points and curves on surface to create UV curves and points. I usually ignore that, not always, but this isn't a tutorial on how to do UV unwrapping, or how to make UV curves, I should say. So I just hit enter, and it's just making a rectangle that kind of represents this, right? So this is kind of like this surface unwrapped, except that it's just a rectangle. I want this to be facing the other way, so I'm going to rotate it, and we'll go to surface tools and surface from planar curves, and then I'll delete that original rectangle. So this surface represents this surface. This is going to be my base surface in my flow. Okay, so I'm going to put this on the flow layer, and I'm going to put this on the flow layer as well. Okay, so let's say this isn't, I don't actually want this surface, it's just going to be something that I flow other objects on. Okay, so I'll put it on the flow layer as well. And so let's see, what do we want to do with this? So I guess just because we're just doing a random example and not making a full tutorial, I'll just make a little sphere here. Okay, and we'll go to transform and flow along surface. We'll click on that. It says base surface, select edge near a corner. I'm going to select this edge right here. So I'm just going to zoom in, and I'll select this edge here near this corner. So I'll click right there. Then it says target surface, select edge near matching corner. This is the matching corner right here, and I'll click on the edge near that corner. Okay, so now it's flowing that over there. I had rigid set to yes, and so this sphere is maintaining its shape. Okay, so now we can drag this along, and it flows over there. So I want this sphere to be on the flow layer as well, so I'll change that over there. This one I won't put on the flow layer. So now, if I want to, I can turn off all of my flow objects, and I only see the results. Okay, so that's why I have the flow layer on all my flow objects on a separate flow layer. Okay, if you already have your base object on the flow layer, and then you flow over to the other surface, this will also be on the flow layer. So when you turn it off, everything will disappear. In that case, you'll want to take this and switch it back to whatever other layer you would like it to be on. Okay, and then you can keep. So this is what we're actually designing right here, and the flow system is usually just a a part of, a part of the process of making the final object. Okay, so that is the flow layers. The rest of the layers are really about just getting the materials assigned to them. Okay, so just an easy way to get materials. So let's say we want this bead to be yellow gold. We could put it on the yellow gold layer. Okay, you see it changes in shaded view to a kind of a yellowish color. But if we switch to rendered view, it's switched over to this kind of plastic material. So did I open? So I'm using the plastic template. I didn't even realize that. So how the layers work is the same for all the templates, but this is just the plastic template. So it looks like yellow plastic. I meant for this to be the stylized template, so I forgot that I had opened the plastic template. Okay, so what I'll do is bring everything back. So sometimes you might want to switch templates, and that is something that I wanted to talk about. Sometimes you want to switch templates. So you just select everything, hit Control C, you go out to get whatever template you want. So in this case, I want the stylized template. We'll open that file. In this case, I'm not going to save my changes, but you could if you wanted to save the changes. We're just going to paste everything in. Okay, and now everything is in the new template. Since the layers are the same, the only thing that really changes are the metals. Okay, it keeps the layer information when you copy and paste like that. So now when we switch over to rendered view, you can see that ball is now metallic. Okay, so you've got various metal colors here, so you could switch this over to like white gold or green gold. Okay, now I accidentally made the free libraries were not supposed to have the green and stained layers, but you may see that you do. That was a mistake on my part. It was the free libraries were not supposed to have the green and stained layers. So if you have them, that's no big deal. You just got something that was supposed to be only available to the paid version of the library. So you got a couple of extra materials and layers in your templates. But and then you could also change this over to say to sapphire. Okay. So these basically, like I said, these layers right here are more about assigning, like a quick way to assign materials to different objects. Gem profiles and cutters, just something that and gems as well. When you bring in, if you go to gems and you drag a gem in using import, whenever you drag a gem in, you probably want to use import, not open. Okay, that gem will come in on the gems layer, and the cutter, if you bring in a cutter, that will come in on the cutter layer, and it will be assigned a plastic orange material. And if you bring in a gem outline, that will come in on the gem profiles layer and will be red. Okay. Now I'm just going to delete everything here, and we'll talk about the duplicates for a minute. So the duplicates layer. So what I intended the duplicates layer to be for is if you work on something and maybe it was a bit of a process to get it to that stage, and then you're about to make more changes. But before you make those changes, you would kind of like to save it in its current state first. Then you can make a copy of it in the duplicates layer and quickly get back to that. So I'll show you what I mean. We'll just do a really quick example here. I'll go into the front layer. I'll make a circle, and we'll offset that by some amount, say 1 millimeter. We'll grab the two lines and we will extrude them out a little bit so we have a band, right? And I would like to see this band maybe have some fillets, and maybe I want 0.3 fillets on all four corners, but maybe I'd also like to try some other fillet arrangements. Maybe I would like to try 0.3 on the inside, but maybe I would like to try 0.7 or something on the outside. Okay, but once I make those changes, then it's over. Okay, but maybe I'd like to save this stage of the of the progress, right? Now, normally I would do this with something more complex. So a model that it was quite a bit of work to get it to this basic stage, and then I'm going to make some other changes. I want to save the state of it, currently. So this is just a very simple example of what I'm talking about. But what we can do is select our object and right-click on duplicates and click on Copy Objects to Layer. So not Change Object Layer, but Copy Object to Layer. Okay, so now there is a copy of that on the duplicates layer. And normally we'll leave the duplicates layer off. Okay, so now if I make these changes, let's say I do the 0.3 fillets on all four corners. Okay, I can drag this one back and then go to duplicates, and there is a copy of it with it still has its sharp edges. I'll just click on it, come back up to default here or whatever layer I want it to be on, right click and click on Copy Objects to Layer. Okay, and then I can turn the duplicates layer back off. So the duplicates layer still has this original band, but now I can maybe try out the 0.3 on the inside edges and 0.7 on the outside edges. Okay, and then if I want to try something else, I can bring back this band again. Okay, and do something even more different with it. So that is what duplicates is for. It's for saving a state of your progress that you would like to easily get back to, because maybe you want to try different options from that point, or maybe it was just a lot of work to get to that point and you're worried you're going to make a mistake, mess something up in the future, and you just would like to quickly be able to get back to this current state, whatever it is. Okay, so you can save a copy of it in your duplicates layer, and you can save as many copies on there as you want. You can also add sublayers and add, have different types of duplicates within your duplicates layer, or you can make a whole another duplicates layer. Maybe you can have several duplicates layer, whatever you want to do. You can add more duplicates layers or whatever. Okay, so that's the duplicates layer. Under that we've got miscellaneous, and that's just for whatever you can think of that I couldn't think of that you might want to do with your layers. Okay, and then after that we have the ring sizes, ring size systems, which you can bring. You're going to use those in the front viewport, but you can show and hide those. You can show them to use them and then turn them off when you're done with them. But I'll do ring sizes in a separate video. Okay, so that is an overview of what you can do with the templates, and I think we'll stop it there. So, all right, thank you everyone for watching, and I hope to see all of you in future videos.